Today in our 2018 Ford F53 chassis motorhome, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster front anti-sway bar, part number RM-1139-140. Having a motorhome can be great, but one thing that nobody really seems to talk about is how difficult it can be to drive sometimes. Because let's face it, we have a large area for wind to catch that can start pushing us around when we're driving down the road, which can be a little spooky for some people and not that enjoyable. Well, our Roadmaster anti-sway bar is going to do for side-to-side movement what a good set of shocks would do for the up and down. It's going to take a lot of that pressure off, and we're not going to have so much wind feeling like it's pushing us around, which means we can relax more and not fight that steering wheel. So here you can see the difference between our factory sway bar and our new Roadmaster. Our factory one is going to be 1.5 inches in diameter, whereas our Roadmaster is going to be 1 3/4 in diameter. The bigger diameter of the bar means that it's going to be able to take a lot more stress and it's not going to flex as much. So if we're taking a corner, an evasive maneuver, or a big crosswind comes by, it's not going to have as much body roll because the bar is going to be absorbing a lot of that. And our Roadmaster sway bar is going to be using polyurethane bushings opposed to the traditional rubber bushings that are found on the factory ones. Now these are going to hold up a lot better over time. They're going to resist a lot of automotive chemicals like oil, gasoline, and even road salt. So we know that they're going to be durable, but they're also going to resist that kind of stretching and ovaling out and making the hole larger like the rubber ones tend to do, which over time the bar will move in there and not provide us the support we need. To begin our installation, we're going to want to come underneath the front of our motorhome. And in front of the front axle here, we'll find our sway bar. And on each side, we're going to have this end length that's dropping down where it's attached to. We're going to need to remove the bolt on the end link so we can get the sway bar out. On the inside, we're going to have an 18mm nut. And then on the outside, it'll be a bolt with a 15mm head. And we can just tap the bolt out. Just want to tap it through a little bit. That way we don't have to worry about the sway bar rolling down because we're going to take out the other side as well. So if we move in, we're going to be right in front of the axle now, underneath the leaf springs. We'll find these U-shaped brackets that are holding our sway bar in place. We're going to have 2 bolts, and on the back side of these bolts there will be nuts holding it in place. So we're going to use an 18mm wrench to hold the nut on the back side and a 15mm socket to pull the bolt out. Now I do want to mention that once we took those end links loose, if you didn't leave the bolts in and you took them all the way out, your sway bar may want to roll down, so you want to watch out for that whenever you loosen these bolts up. And once you have all the bolts removed, we'll let our sway bar come down. Then we can take out that last bolt on the end of the end link. Then we can pull our sway bar out from underneath our motorhome, so we can get ready to put our bushings in place. Now I like to have our 2 sway bars close together so we can get our bushings and brackets in as close to position as possible compared to the factory one. So we can take our bushing, and they are going to provide us with some lubricant. You just want to make sure you put it on the inside of that bushing, because if water ends up getting inside the bushing, in between the sway bar and the bushing itself, they tend to make a lot of squeaking noise. So you just want to make sure you have a nice thin coat of lubricant on the inside of the bushing. And it is a split bushing, so we're just going to kind of open it up a little bit. We'll lift our sway bar up, and we can slide the bushing in place. And we'll put the other one on as well. Once we have our bushings in place, we can take our U-shaped clamp. We're just going to slide it over the bushing, and that's what the bolts are going to go through, bolting it directly to the axle. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to lift our sway bar up, and you're going to want to slide the bushing and bracket to line up with that plate. We'll take a bolt and a washer, and we're going to go through one of the holes in our bracket and through the hole that's on the axle. And then on the back side, we'll follow it up with another washer. Then we'll put a lock nut in place just to hold everything together until we can get the rest of the hardware in. I'm going to come back with a 19mm socket and wrench. I'm just going to snug these up just enough to where they're going to be snug, but I can still slide my bar up and down. And once you have one side kind of snug, you want to make sure that the bracket is going to be pretty well centered. So again, you just kind of snug it up enough to where you have a little bit of tension, and then we can tighten it up once those bolts are about halfway in that slot. So with the bolts snug to where our sway bar isn't going to have any movement up or down, we'll rotate the arm on each side up to where it's going to line up with our end link. We'll take one of the new bolts, we're going to pass it through our sway bar, but on the inside, in between the sway bar and the end link, we want to put one of those flat washers back in place so it'll be against the end link bushing. We'll pass our bolts all the way through. We'll add another washer to the inside right by the bushing again, and then we'll put a lock nut on. We'll do that for both sides. We'll come back with that same 19mm socket and wrench. And we're going to tighten this up. Now we just want to tighten it up to where the washers and everything kind of snug up. We don't want to crush the bushings inside the end link. Just enough to where those washers aren't going to have any movement and the bolt's not going to be moving around. We're going to come back and make sure that all of our bolts are nice and tight. That'll finish up your look at the Roadmaster front anti-sway bar, part number RM-1139-140 on our 2018 Ford F-53 chassis motorhome.